The Minnesota Wild have just robbed the NHL after signing a multi-year contract to Filip Gustavsson and keeping him around long-term. This does not, however, come without questions surrounding Jesper Wallstedt, what the plan is for him going forward. We're going to be breaking that all down here in this video, as well as going over Danila Yurov, as he has now put everything on the table to make this final roster. We're also going to be breaking down why he has the right to make it here on this team. Before we do jump into this, though, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you one question. That's, if you haven't already, be sure to hit the sub button, join me here on the channel. We're getting daily videos out, everything Minnesota Wild, and you're not going to want to miss it. After signing up and locking up this entire team now, the moves coming forward are going to be insane. You won't want to miss it. We're going to have it all right here on the channel. But let's get straight into this because, of course, Filip Gustavsson, we've been waiting for an extension coming now after Kaprizov was signed. After Rossi was signed, he was the next in line, and with a few days ago, we had heard nothing. There was no progress, but just like Joel Eriksson Ek, this came very, very quickly. And you see from Michael Russo here, hearing the Wild have agreed to a 5-year deal of $34 million for Filip Gustavsson, which comes at a 6.8 AAV. Now, a lot of people are questioning why this would be the case with Jesper Wallstedt. I know some of my friends have been saying it, and I had to give them the reason, the lowdown on why this happened. And ladies and gentlemen, this is an absolute steal from what a lot of people thought we would get for Filip Gustavsson. And going into his tenure with the Wild, of course, it has been one that came on a trade with Cam Talbot, 1-for-1, a very good deal, and ultimately thought that, Filip Gustavsson would be here for a little bit just to get Jesper Wallstedt in the NHL, but he has turned that completely around, became the #1 goalie for this team by a landslide. And I mean, taking a look at what this contract also features, I mean, just goes to show how important the Wild feel he is, and also giving them the ability to have this trade protection. Michael Russo, once again, according to sources, a no-move clause was added to his current contract and the last until June 30th, 2028. In the last 3 years of his new contract, Gustavsson no move turns into a 15-team no trade. So they are really willing to give him that protection, of course, going into this season and going into what now is going to be, I think, the tandem for the future with Filip Gustavsson and Jesper Wallstedt. This really confirms to me that the Wild have a lot of trust in him. Of course, they wouldn't have given him this contract if they didn't, but it also goes to show how much they value him, especially when you're looking at his projection, which was a 6-year 7.2, with 1 year less, and honestly, quite a little bit more, or a little bit less than what we were thinking on the price as well. This makes a whole lot of sense that the Wild were willing to do this, and also that Gustavsson was willing to take that deal. Of course, the projections, you see a lot of people like to go over nowadays, but it was true. It was all on the table that he wanted to stay with this Minnesota Wild team. He wanted to see no part of any other team, and that is awesome because it shows how important Filip Gustavsson is to us and how much he means to us, but it also shows how much he cares about this team and this city. So I love that. But as we kind of spoke about, Jesper Wallstedt, there's a lot of questions surrounding him. What is the plan for him? Of course, now being the backup in the NHL, but it seems like he was set to take over next season for Filip Gustavsson. But with this deal now, that is all off the table. And I mean, when you look at the depth chart right now, I should say just the goaltending, Filip Gustavsson and Jesper Wallstedt both here. You have this contract to Filip Gustavsson, which at the end of the day is only a little bit more than what we're giving him now, which right now, of course, is an absolute steal. Let's not get that wrong. But Jesper Wallstedt is still under contract for this year and next season. This is something that I think is going to be an integral part of his development. Sitting behind Filip Gustavsson, but also getting quite a bit of game action. And we know that Filip Gustavsson is someone that can play 60-plus games. He's not, he's done that adding your postseason into the regular season, with 58 in the regular season being his highest. But Jesper Wallstedt being able to learn behind Filip Gustavsson and also giving him that still developmental role behind Filip Gustavsson for a few years at the NHL level, I think is going to be the best thing for his development, especially with the way that we've seen him be the last few seasons, especially last year. He has not been great, but has had a big bounce back preseason thus far and will only continue to get better, which is, a lot more than we could have asked for. But at $2.2 million with $3.7 this year, still a very good deal. And when you take a look at 6.8 and 2.2, that adds up to $9 million next year for your goaltending. That is going to be an incredible tandem. And when it gets to the RFA status of Jesper Wallstedt, we'll get to it. We know that we'll sign him. We'll, of course, have him there locked up as well. But coming down to this, we saw how good some teams go with a 50-50 goalie. I mean, having a look at the way that we saw the Bruins do it with Linus Ullmark and Jeremy Swayman. That was so good. And right now, I think this is still Filip Gustavsson's net. But in a couple years' time, I could see a more 50-50 transition with Jesper Wallstedt becoming that number one at the end of the day in a couple years' time. But I think the Wild are setting themselves up for success, especially with how good Filip Gustavsson has been. I mean, I know this is very small, but you see him getting better and better every year. And the thing that's more important is that he's playing more and more games every year, but still maintaining that very good play, and that is seemingly going to continue as well. And at only 27 years old, he still has a lot of game left, and we've seen it before. I mean, having goalies sit behind Marc Andre Fleury has been a complete career changer, and Filip Gustavsson didn't necessarily need it, but it only helped out, and especially having Marc Andre Fleury around any team, and even around Jesper Wallstedt for a little bit, that'll now translate to Filip Gustavsson teaching Jesper Wallstedt the stuff that Fleury taught him, and this is something that I'm so excited for because obviously, as you know, I'm sure a lot of you guys know, I'm also a goalie. So seeing, two of my favorite in the NHL at the moment be surrounded by one of the best, if not the best of all time, also one of my favorite of all time, this is just setting us up in a very good direction for a goaltending masterclass over the next couple of years. So I'm super excited to see how that does go. And I mean, when you're looking at the contract comparisons around for, Filip Gustavsson's current deal, also going on to the total the Wild are giving their goalies. Of course, $9 million will be the price that they're paying both of these guys come next year total. That's around the number of Connor Hellebuyck, Ilya Sorokin. You're paying two very, very good goalies that number. So having Filip Gustavsson jump in at around, the UC Saros, Dustin Wolf, Lucas Stastl deal, I think this is an absolute highway robbery when you're putting in his name up against these guys and, kind of going about how that plans out to be. So I'm loving this. Let me know what you think in the comments below about how this kind of contract comes out to be, what you think about it. And what you think about Jesper Wallstedt as well, because I think that's a big question that a lot of Wild fans are currently thinking of, and how his kind of development may or may not be hindered here, even though I think this is probably the best for his career at this point, especially after a little bit of a lackluster season last year. And, I mean, going into the contracts, this is not going to change anything. As we know in yesterday's video, Kirill Kaprizov was said by, or has spoken to by Bill Guerin, saying this team is not stopping adding, and linked Panarin in that deal. And be sure to go watch that video. It's kind of crazy, I know. Panarin is an absolutely insane take, but if it's written on paper, it's there. I had to report it, and I want to see it, so let me know what you think about that. And especially with $16 million, they have a lot of money that they can really do with whatever they want with. So having this core locked up now, the time is now for the Wild to keep on going and make some more moves. But I need to touch on another topic, and as we mentioned all about this kind of stuff going on, Danila Yurov has been a very integral part of this team in the offseason, and we've seen him become a player that the Wild are trying and going to put into this lineup. And I mean, taking a look at the offense right now, you see him there on the fourth line with Nico Sturm and Yakov Trenin. That is a preliminary thing, and he's gotten so much better over his tenure from this preseason, playing every game, I believe. And, if I'm wrong, correct me in the comments below, but playing every game in the preseason is not something you normally see, but that just goes to tell me that John Hynes, Bill Guerin, this team is pushing Danila Yurov to get better and better every game, and he has been. And this is what Bill Guerin had to say on that topic. He says, you can see him getting comfortable and starting to actually play. He's gotten better every day. He's gotten better every game. And I mean, this is just something that we've been able to see on the ice as well, and he had definitely had a bit of a slow start. I mean, that comes along with a lot of players. That comes along with a lot of different kind of, options from teams like this and players like this who are so young coming from the KHL, and having his development continue through the preseason, and now at this point being in a final spot to make this team. He's absolutely earned it, and he's been someone that I think will be an integral part of this team going, whether it be the second, third, or fourth line. He's going to be finding a spot here, and Bill Guerin says if Danila Yurov is not ready, I mean, this is from September 18th, keep in mind, they're not going to force feed him into the league because this league is unforgiving, but it certainly seems like they've done everything in the preseason to make sure that he's comfortable, and at this point right now, it certainly seems like that is the case. I mean, last night, for me at least, seemed like his best game that we've saw so far from his Wild tenure, and I'm expecting this to translate to the regular season with the rosters being announced very, very soon. Of course, the game is coming, I don't know, that was our last final game, actually, so we now have just to wait to see how this roster does play out, and I'm expecting that we do see Danila Yurov on this final roster with, of course, being able to be sent down if he's not ready to go in the NHL regular season doesn't treat him well, but it certainly seems like he is ready. Certainly seems like he is on pace to make this team and also be a very important part of this team. So let me know what you think about that as well, but first of all, I want to know what you guys think about that Filip Gustavsson stuff and the contract, everything that played along with that. That's all I got here in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well, and remember, daily Minnesota Wild videos coming your way. You won't want to miss it. But that's all I got. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.